Good day, good day, good day, and welcome to the Trash Picture Show. I am back with another figure that gorgeous girlfriend of mine, Jen Mitchell, sent me for my birthday. And today we are looking at the MATTLE Hammond Collection Scutosaurus. Yes, this is one of the more boutique and premium versions of the Jurassic Park line. And yeah, this is really interesting because instead of getting a conventional dinosaur in this line, we have gotten an anapsid, a creature that came before the dinosaurs, very much like my Transavia, but in the Hammond collection line. That means he's a bit more articulation and a bit more paintwork and a bit more detail. But yeah, what is this guy? What is Scutosaurus? Well, Scutosaurus was an anapsid, again, mammal-like reptile. Like Transavia, these were early Permian creatures that skirted the line between mammal and reptile, whereas most kind of reptiles have their legs outwards at the side of their bodies. Anapsids and therapsids had their legs tucked under for mobility and build, and were incredibly adaptable. Sadly, because of an event called the Great Dying, most of these guys, along with Transavia and a whole host of other creatures on the planet, died out. Now this chap, he was essentially the water buffalo or the elephant of the late Permian, also known as the Lapingian, and he was a gentle giant. These creatures usually moved in herds, grazed on whatever greenery they could find. At that time, the earth wasn't as lush with plants, and a lot of the planet was covered in arid deserts, so these guys would have to trek for miles upon miles to find both water and food. But yeah, enough about the creature. Let's have a look at the packaging. So here you have the Hammond Collection with the Jurassic Park logo. Nice window box. There's a picture of Scutosaurus. Flip it to the back. And there is another picture of Scutosaurus at a different profile. And just going down to the bottom there, Scutosaurus with a defining armored body and a sturdy build. The Scutosaurus is a strong herbivore ready to embark on any tracking adventure. And yeah, it shows the other creatures in the line. You have the Atrociraptor Ghost, you have a Triceratops Trike, and an Allosaurus. And just at the side there is Scutosaurus in another profile. So guys, I'm going to pause the video here, and I'm going to take this chap out. And when I take him out, we'll have a closer look. Don't go anywhere, I shall be right back. And we are back, and there is Scutosaurus out of the packaging. So let's have a closer look at this guy. And yeah, I really do like the colour scheme. It's kind of muddy, swampy green. It suits him. He's a primordial animal. He's older than the dinosaurs. He is at a point where the world was not properly formed. And there's just something real primordial and real primitive about this guy. But he's still cool. I like the design. Like the dabbling of the darker green on top of the lighter green. Just going in close there to the face. And yeah, I like that as well, the eyes. I love that with the Hammond Collection figures. They really go in depth on the face and the eyes. And he's kind of got a marble effect on his eyes there. That's pretty cool. Just going back here as well. He's got a little tail that can somewhat articulate. I like the tusks as well. They're really cool, and they were probably used for uprooting roots and other vegetation buried in arid lands, or even water. He could have used it to try and maybe dig up mud holes or mud pots to get to water. I don't know if he would have used it as defense, maybe fighting rivals for a mate, but they don't look very formidable in the location they are. But yeah, again, this is just all in all a really cool design. Again, just shows how stout and stocky this chap is. Articulation wise, he has okay articulation. There is a bit of stiffness. It's not super stiff, but it's a bit more rigid than I'd like, so he might have to get some hot water treatment. So you can move the legs like that, and there is a bit of articulation there in the forefoot. And there is slight articulation in the back legs, not as much as the front. You can put up the hind leg much easier than the back one, because there's very little articulation in the back one in comparison to the front leg. That's just one solid piece. As I said before, the tail can be articulated, but it's a small stubby tail, so it isn't super kind of articulated. Bit surprised, the neck is rather rigid. The head itself has a decent range of articulation, but because of his jowls here, it doesn't go around as much. His mouth can open, and there's a wee bit of detail in the mouth. But yeah, all in all, it's a nice figure and it's a nice sculpt. As I said before, these guys were the water buffalo of the Lipingian. They would travel in herds for miles and miles looking for food and water, and they were usually preyed upon by gorgonopsids like Inostrancevia. And while the top body was heavily armoured and plated, the underbelly, that would be where Inostrancevia would try and attack. That or the jowl, or even if he could, he'd try and get the softer tissue on the leg and just let the Scutosaurus basically wear itself out and drop from blood loss and then go in for the kill. Because when this poor bastard, when he'd be injured, he'd have to fall on his side, and that's when the belly would be exposed, and the gorgonopsid could go in with those huge fucking canines and finish him off. But still, he was a tough customer, and back then you had to be. But yeah, I like this guy's design. There's something almost turtle-like about him as well. But yeah guys, I'm going to pause the video here, and when we come back, I'm going to put some other Jurassic Park figures against him to see how he scales up. Don't go anywhere, I shall be right back. And we are back, and there is Scutosaurus. And let's put his natural enemy next to him. Let's put this Inostrancevia next to him. And yeah, that scales up about right. As I said before, this guy was his natural predator. He would hunt herds of Scutosaurus, and if he didn't kill it outright, he'd wound it and then let blood loss do its work. And yeah, these guys were also in certain regions of Russia where there was a shitload of gorgonopsids. He would have been the primary prey of gorgonopsids, particularly Inostrancevia. So, since we've compared him to Inostrancevia, let's compare him to another predatory animal from the Jurassic Park line. Let's compare him to the Jurassic Park Velociraptor. And yeah, that scales up fairly accurately as well. Although I have a feeling Scutosaurus maybe should be a bit bigger. I don't know if he would be that small in comparison to the Lost World Raptors. I could be wrong. It could be a variant species. And let's put him next to a classic Kenner Jurassic Park figure, but something that may have existed in the Permian. Probably died out by the time these guys arrived, but Dimetrodon, another resident of the Permian. But yeah, that scales up well. I think that's the right size. I just feel the raptor is maybe a bit too big next to this chap. So, as well that we have some representation for the human species, let's put Dr. Ian Malcolm next to this chap. He'll be a lot happier to be next to a herbivore than a carnivore, I'd say. So yeah, again, I'm not sure about the size in comparison to the human figure. I just have a feeling that Scutosaurus would be a bit bigger than that. It could be me. There are variations to sizes. Certain adults and subadults have been dug up, so the fossil record might prove that these guys were bigger than what is represented here. I'm not 100% sure, but I will tell you, he is a cool looking figure, and Jen absolutely kicks arse for getting me this guy. Again, the Hammond collection, it's a solid collection. Any critiques I have for this guy, maybe a bit stiff in the joints. The articulation is left a bit wanting on the back legs, and the neck, the rotation on the neck joint is rather stiff. Again, this could be something resolved with a hot water bath or maybe using a hairdryer. I don't know, I'll work out the kinks, but regardless, it's still a gorgeous looking figure. But yeah guys, have you added this guy to your collection, and do you collect the Hammond collection line? If you do, What's your favourite figure released by them? Let me know in the comments below. My name's Martin, this has been the Trash Picture Show, and yeah, have a good one. Take care. Bye now.